This is the 11 p.m. report on the leading news stories of the day in Washington and around the world. This portion brought to you by the Humble Oil and Refining Company, America's leading energy company, and your Esso dealer.
Good evening. This is Don Allen standing in for Tony Sylvester, who is in Texas with the presidential party. The United States ran into one of its most disappointing space failures today. The historic Gemini 6 rendezvous shot had to be called off because the target rocket fizzled out. It was a complicated countdown, but it went off without a hitch.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Holding momentarily at 4. We have ignition.
And I'll lift off right on the button, right on the hour.
The launch was going perfectly at the outset, and the count for the Gemini Titan, scheduled to go about an hour and 40 minutes later, continued uninterrupted. And then 6 minutes into the flight of the Agena, when the target vehicle was supposed to take power from the Atlas, there was what a spokesman called a dramatic loss of telemetry. No one was certain whether there was a malfunction aboard the Agena or the vehicle had blown itself to bits. For nearly 1 hour, the count on Gemini, still on its launch pad, continued. Astronauts Walter Schirra and Thomas Stafford still awaited atop the Titan rocket. And then 54 minutes into the Agena flight, the Manned Spacecraft Center in Houston made the decision to scrub the mission. Astronauts Stafford and Schirra were taken out of the Gemini capsule, and preparations got underway for the launching of Gemini 7, a 14-day flight originally scheduled for December, but which now may be moved up closer to Thanksgiving. The Gemini 6 mission, the most important flight to date, which would have for the first time linked two vehicles in outer space, will be rescheduled. No date has yet been announced, but it's expected sometime soon after the first of the year. Clearly, everyone connected with the project was disappointed. Technicians are now trying to find out exactly what went wrong with the Agena target rocket. They say it will take 5 to 10 days to find out. Here is the voice of Jack King, Gemini Control.
Astronauts Walter Schirra and Tom Stafford have just emerged from the Gemini 6 spacecraft. It occurred at about 10 minutes past the hour. They are now both out of the spacecraft, and they'll be ready to go down the elevator shortly, we expect, and proceed back to the suit trailer. The astronauts are now out of the spacecraft, talking things over at the 100-foot level.
The scrubbing today of the Gemini 6 space mission because of the failure of the Agena rocket to orbit has raised some important questions at Cape Kennedy. Although relatively new, the rocket had never been flown in space or even ground-fired. When asked why by newsmen, Air Force and Space Agency officials said economics was partly the answer. A bigger mystery is why the rocket was not at least ground-tested before being set up at the Cape for a launch. There has been no answer to this so far. Each of the modified Agena rockets cost $10 million. And space officials say this is why there was no backup rocket ready. Earlier, less complicated versions cost only $1 1/3 million. Space officials agree, however, that today's failure will not hold up this country's man-to-the-moon program. The 11 p.m. report will continue with more top news after this message.
Weather conditions along the Atlantic coast are clear and crisp tonight. As a matter of fact, the picture is just about the same at most stations from coast to coast, and the frost should be on the pumpkin by Halloween. And that reminds me that trick-or-treat time is almost here, and your Tiger trick-or-treat sign. But hurry! Your Esso dealer has only a limited number of these bags available, so get yours now. And while you're there, why not fill up with Esso Extra and put a Tiger in your tank?
On Capitol Hill today, although Congress is no longer in session, the House Un-American Activities Committee is continuing its hearings on the Ku Klux Klan. That story from WTOP News reporter Stephen Gear.
Sales of weapons by a North Carolina